Today's hearing is an important opportunity to hear what steps the executive branch is taking to harness, advance, and ensure the safe use of artificial intelligence, or AI. And while AI is not new, the speed at which we are witnessing the deployment of generative AI is staggering. The effects it will have on our everyday lives are tremendous. Indeed, this technology has led to an explosion of AI systems and tools that answer consumers' questions, draft documents, influence the way patients are diagnosed or what health insurance will cover, and make employment and housing decisions. And many of these systems are trained on massive amounts of data that big tech has collected on all of us. And that's why the lack of nationwide protections around what data companies can collect, use, and sell to train these AI systems should concern every American. Given the opportunities and challenges that AI offers, I'm pleased that President Biden issued an executive order on the safe, secure, and trustworthy development and use of AI. The executive order recognizes both the promise and peril of AI and adopts a coordinated federal government-wide approach for the development and use of AI in a responsible manner. Specifically, the order requires the Secretary of Health and Human Services to establish a safety program that receives reports and acts to resolve harm from AI's use in healthcare practices. It tasks the Secretary of Energy with addressing the threats that AI systems have to our nation's critical infrastructure, as well as any chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and cybersecurity risks. The Secretary of Commerce must develop guidance for content authentication and watermarking so that AI-generated content is easily identified. And Commerce will also lead an effort to establish an international framework for harnessing benefits and managing risks. The Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Communications and Information will also assess the benefits, risks, and accountability frameworks for open-source foundation models. These are all important actions that the Biden administration is taking. But we cannot lose sight of the fact that sufficient guardrails do not currently exist for Americans' data and AI systems. As a result, we're unfortunately hearing of a growing number of reports of harmful impacts from the use of AI systems. There have been instances where AI has been used to mimic a friend or relative to scam consumers out of their hard-earned money. Deep fakes have been used to further misinformation or disinformation campaigns. There are reports that chatbots of medical records and personal information, and AI systems have discriminated against female candidates for jobs and people of color in the housing market. And there's an acknowledged concern that increased adoption of AI technologies into our critical infrastructure, like the electric grid, can add new vulnerabilities and cyber risks. And this is all extremely concerning. We can't continue to allow companies to develop and deploy systems that misuse and leak personal data and exacerbate discrimination. That's why we must make sure developers are running every test they can to mitigate risks before their AI models are deployed. Last year, Republicans and Democrats were able to work across the aisle and pass the American Data Privacy and Protection Act out of this committee by a vote of 53-2. That legislation included provisions focused on data minimization and algorithmic accountability with heightened privacy protections for children. Clearly defined privacy and data security rules are critical to protect consumers from existing harmful data collection practices and to safeguard them from growing privacy and cyber threats that AI models pose. And as I've repeatedly stated in our previous AI hearings in our subcommittees, I strongly believe that the bedrock of any AI regulation must be privacy legislation that includes data minimization and algorithmic accountability principles. Simply continuing to provide consumers with only notice and consent rights is wholly insufficient in today's modern digital age. And I'll continue to push for a comprehensive national federal privacy standard. It's the only way we can limit the aggressive and abusive data collection practices of big tech and data brokers, ensure our kids' sensitive information is protected online, protect against algorithmic bias, and put consumers back in control of their data. So I look forward to hearing from our witnesses and working with our partners in the federal government to collaborate, innovate, and lead in developing policies that both harness the transformative power of AI while also safeguarding the rights and well-beings of Americans. And again, Madam Chair, I want to thank you. This is something clearly we're going to work together on, and I appreciate that, and I yield back.